Now, South Korea's top nuclear envoy has left for Beijing to meet with his Chinese counterpart. They're set to discuss response measures against North Korea's nuclear weapons program. And the meeting comes as the U.S. announced unilateral sanctions on Pyongyang on Wednesday. Both China and Russia are deeply opposed to the measures. Connie Kim reports.
South Korea's Kim Hong-kyun, new special representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs, will meet with his Chinese counterpart Wu Dawei on Friday to discuss ways to change North Korea's attitude regarding its nuclear weapons program. Kim's comments come as North Korea fired 2 mid-range ballistic missiles in the early hours on Friday.
Seoul and Beijing will share assessments of North Korea's provocations and threats. Based on the two leaders' joint stance that Pyongyang's nuclear weapons program is unacceptable, discussions will focus on finding ways to change the North's thoughts and attitude through implementing UN sanctions.
The strongest set of UN sanctions to date were imposed on Pyongyang earlier this month. UN sanctions include mandatory cargo inspections and a ban on trade of coal and iron that require Beijing's cooperation to choke off funding for Pyongyang's nuclear weapons program. Kim is also expected to press for multilateral talks involving the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia, members of the six-party talks. China recently said it's open to 3, 4, or 5-party nuclear talks to resolve the nuclear issue through dialogue. Kim's visit to Beijing comes after his Washington trip, where he met Sung Kim, the U.S. point man for six-nation nuclear talks last week. The two saw eye to eye on sanctions as an effective way to pressure the regime to give up its nuclear weapons program. U.S. President Barack Obama issued an executive order imposing new sanctions on the North that includes secondary boycott measures that proposes penalties on banks and firms that aid the regime. China and Russia oppose the U.S.'s unilateral sanctions on North Korea, raising questions on whether the two countries will participate in implementing the U.S. sanctions on Pyongyang. Connie Kim, Arirang News.